Okay, so this is just a quick informal review of the Transformers Generations Autobot Cosmos and Payload figure. It comes in the standard blister packaging that they all do, and this is, I think it came out last year or the year before. It's not super new. I actually got it off of, I think, Amazon for about retail. I was pretty happy about. And, you can see there's nothing on the side. On the back, it's got the picture of the two robots transformed in their various ways, and the old tech spec IDW, who owns the comic book rights. It's interesting. I'm going to pick this up for a second. The artwork is nice. On a lot of these new ones, they have sort of drawn artwork. Some of it's from the comics, some of it's just new artwork. But I'm going to go ahead and open these up, and we'll take a look. And I hadn't gotten any of the smaller robots. I had heard good things about Cosmos. I recently got Gears and one of the others who I'm forgetting the name of. But Cosmos I always saw online for more expensive prices. They may have re-released him because I've been seeing him cheaper again. Right out of the package, his arm fell off. Now, I don't think it's broken, but it was not even connected when I pulled it out. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that back on. Yeah, I can see some stress lines. You can see, nah, probably not, but there's little stress lines where the ball joint clicks in. So I'll try to get that back in. Wow. Okay. Well, it's hard to get in, but that's good news because that means it's going to be nice and tight. When you turn his arms this way, the good news is you can see his fists, and he has holes to hold weapons. The bad news is he's got quite a bit of a hollow there. His arms look a lot nicer when you turn them in, which is closer to how the old school Cosmos was. But I was sort of excited he could turn, but then disappointed when I saw what happened. His head turns left and right. Goes up and down a little bit, but that looks like it's part of the transformation feature. Arms move up, out to the side, but they're kind of hindered by his design, how far they can go. They go up this way. Does he swivel at the waist? No. His legs go all the way up, all the way back. He can bend at the knees. Could rotate at the thigh, not at the knees. Up, rotate. Now let's take a look on the side. He looks pretty decent. You can't see his head because of his huge shoulders, but not too much kibble or hollowness like the front. Then we look at the back. We have some hollows in the back of the feet. That's real ugly, those ball joints. I kind of tend to forgive bad backsides more than side or front. Like, I would take more hollow on the back to get rid of these hollows on the fronts of his arms. I do like this little jetpack part, which I know is part of the alt mode, but it's still kind of cool. So let's put him to the side for a second. And his little buddy here, Payload, which I don't remember him from G1. He's either a character I don't remember, like a Microbot, or maybe he's from the comic. He kind of looks like Spacey, the old GoBot. But from the top, he looks okay. From the side, you can kind of see that he's, got a robot in there. And if you flip him on the bottom, it kind of looks like a GoBot where you just flip the legs down. So I'm going to go ahead and transform them. This is Cosmos in his not alt mode. What I usually do is try to transform them without looking at the instructions first. And this is what I came up with. This front part is clearly wrong. There's huge gaps, and I think these are supposed to go forward. It wasn't too difficult to get to this point. One thing I realized also that I had said before, the hips don't rotate, or the waist, it absolutely does. I learned that when I was transforming, so correction there. Now I'm going to look at the instructions correctly transformed. I actually didn't look at the instructions, I just looked at the picture on the box and it became obvious I had just flipped these two parts. That was pretty much my stupidity. He is pretty intuitive and easy to transform. I found a lot of the newer Transformers I sometimes have difficulty with, even when I look at the instructions. Not so with him. He was super sharp. I'm sorry, he was super easy, but he looks super sharp. The front, the sides, the back. I mean, you can see the lines, but he looks like a nice spaceship. It's a little bit different than the original, but it definitely holds true to the spirit. Underside, he's got a little bit of a hole here. The rest of it's really nice. Even the back. I could kind of forgive this and just pretend he's like sucking people up in there. So I think he's got really nice... He almost has a better alt mode than his main mode in terms of kibble and hollowed out pieces. Alright, so let's look at Payload. Payload, I'll go ahead and transform on camera. You stand him up. Flip that. Hey, he's transformed. I mean, it's exactly like an old school GoBot. I guess technically he put his arms up. Now he's transformed. So that's his robot version. He's got okay detail. I like his face. Probably, yeah, you can see he's got really good detail for such a small face. The only thing that's bad, he could have used a little bit more paint app maybe on the leg or something. I'm not really complaining because he's such a small figure. But The only real complaint is that this big yellow thing obviously then becomes the handle to the gun, and it's super obvious. I guess this is him in his blaster mode. This I actually looked at the instructions because it just seemed wrong and crappy. His feet sort of tilt forward a little bit, and then his thrusters become the blasters, and then his arms are sort of up. It's not the best. Some of the other ones actually have better blaster modes, but I guess he has 3 modes and he's like an inch tall, so can't complain that much. One thing also is disappointing about his gun mode is it seems like there's a hole in a peg here that you could get to fit together to make like a blaster combo, or maybe have him dock as the space shuttle. Will not go in. It's cut off a little bit there. And like I said, I have gears, and it's cool because you could stack his partner on him in vehicle mode as well as being a gun. So a little bit of a lost functionality there, which is a bummer. Turn Cosmos back to a robot on camera. I normally don't like to do this because I'm a little bit slow, and sometimes it's a bummer when I watch other people do it and it just takes forever. There's the swivel. But I want to demonstrate how easy and intuitive he is, despite my earlier stupidity. And he's great. He's what I've heard referred to as hand candy, and he certainly fits that bill. Let me just pop his head up, and boom, he's right back there. And he actually, just by transforming him, he's like sort of a dynamic pose already. He's got nice little details on his front chest here that work both on robot mode and when he's a UFO. He's got a tampoed Autobot symbol there. It looks really nice. He's definitely good. I'm definitely not regretting getting him. Even despite my complaints. Like really, I wish I could fill that in. But if it really bothered me, I could sort of turn him at a slight angle or pick it up, which is probably what I'll do when I pose him. Do something like that. And then have his crappy gun. But you know what? It'll cut. Wow, that's really tight. Oh, there you go. So the gun actually looks better in his hand, which I guess is true of a lot of these Target Master types. I don't think he's actually labeled as a Target Master. I'm gonna look at the packaging right now. Space Shuttle the Blaster. Yeah, he's not labeled as a Target Master, but I guess they've been doing that, putting him out as not Target Masters. Here's the original Cosmos, by the way, for scale. You can see, even though the new one is smaller, he's much bigger than the old one. He's also a nice bright green as opposed to this sort of camo olive. Let me transform this Cosmos, who also is easy enough for me to do on camera. Ugh, it sounds like I'm breaking it. Boop. So certainly an improvement on the original design, but very faithful. I almost no liberties taken, really. Arguably these pipes, but whatever. And if you look at the face on the old Cosmo, it's like nothing. It's a blob. His chest detail, it's a sticker, which is nice. But again, here his face is nicer and it's molded. So he's very sharp. Let me go ahead and grab a couple other figures so I could give you a height comparison. So here he is, the original G1 Cosmos. This is a third-party Huffer. I don't remember the brand. You can see he's a little bit shorter than Cosmos, so they're close enough in scale. It doesn't bother me. Plus, maybe Cosmos is taller in the lore. I don't remember. This is a Hound. He's an earlier. I want to say he's a Generations, but they might have called the line something else. It came out a couple of years ago. I really enjoy him as well. And then a G1 Perceptor, who's pretty tall, and I think these two are pretty in scale. So, nitpicking aside, his scale seems pretty good for the character he's supposed to be, with several different lines. Overall, I recommend him at retail, definitely. If you gotta pay a few bucks over, that's pretty good too. I know there's a third-party version of him. I don't know how good that is, but considering this guy goes for 10 or 15 bucks on average, and the third party is what, 30, 40 bucks, I can't imagine it's that much better that it makes it worthwhile. One other thing to show you about this guy, like with the G1, you could have him in UFO mode with the head up or down, which I believe they did in some of the comics, possibly one of the cartoons. It's kind of a dopey thing, but I really like it, especially with the new head sculpt. It really gives the impression of, somebody sticking their head out of a window or out of a sunroof, but, it's his own body. The downside, the one thing the G1 has over the new one is it had wheels on the bottom, so you could roll it, although you could see how well that works. So I don't even consider that the downside, really, because honestly, without just sliding, it works about as well. So again, big thumbs up.